ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशव वामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Bhagavad Gita is a moksha shastra, we already know that. And now when Krishna has started teaching the moksha shastra to Arjuna, because Arjuna is showing all signs of samsara, now Krishna wants to follow exactly the same method, the same methodology that Vedanta follows in giving this Atmajnanam. Now, Vedanta takes a series of steps in which this knowledge is taught, and it is taught in a very systematic manner over a period of time. And the first step that Vedanta takes is, it starts from where one is, where I am. So it first tells me, it asks me, what is your orientation towards yourself? Who do you think you are? What is your orientation about what you are and who you are? That is the first thing that Vedanta asks me. Naturally, my orientation right now is what? I'm the body. I'm the body is my orientation right now. And maybe if I'm questioned further, I may say, well, I'm the mind, I'm the sense organs, I'm the doer, I'm the agent, I'm an individual. I may go on saying those things. Now, what Vedanta says is, okay, right now this is your orientation, that you are the body. And you are the body mind complex. Let us take it as that. You're the body mind complex, body mind sense complex. But then the first step of Vedanta, first stage of Vedanta teaching is, Vedanta says, look, your orientation is not correct. What you think you are, that you are the body mind sense complex, that is not actually the correct orientation. So right now what I will do, that's what Vedanta says. I'm not saying. Vedanta says, I will tell you, give you a set of facts. I tell you that you are not this body. You are made up of a loosely connected mixture of what is called as the body mind sense complex, which Vedanta calls as anatma, and there is a consciousness principle, which is a pure awareness consciousness principle, which is actually the you. Now, for me, it's very difficult to understand at this time that I'm that consciousness and I'm not this body mind sense complex. Now, what Vedanta says is that the body mind sense complex is called anatma because it is made up of matter. That is the matter principle. Whereas you, the consciousness, is Atma, which is purely consciousness principle. And Vedanta says, I will present a set of facts to you. What is this? What are these set of facts? What is the nature of Atma? What is the nature of Anatma? And how diametrically opposite the natures of Atma and Anatma are. And you don't have to accept that you are the Atma just because I am saying it. Now, try to see the difference between Atma and Anatma. And by understanding this, try to understand that you are not the Anatma matter principle, but you are that Atma consciousness principle. This is the first stage where the facts are presented by Vedanta as to I am not the Anatma, I am the consciousness Atma, consciousness principle Atma. In the second stage now, Vedanta wants us to mull over this fact by repeatedly listening to Vedanta, that is Pauna Paunena Shravanam. Go on thinking about it and go on questioning it, thinking about it, listen again and again and again through the Guru Shastra, and then ponder over it, contemplate over it, and what has been a mere fact to you, which is easy to understand, becomes an assimilated fact. See, it is very easy for us to understand a certain fact. Like any other branch of knowledge gives you facts, but then it is over a period of time by regular and consistent study of that particular, those facts which are given by a particular branch of knowledge over and over and over again, and going through in a definite pattern which that particular branch of knowledge follows. Like in Vedanta, it starts with Atma and Atma Viveka. That is the way it starts, to first start with. And then I have to go along with Vedanta slowly, steadily, consistently, in a very, very systematic manner. It's only then that I'm able to not only understand these principles of Atma and Anatma intellectually, but I'm able to assimilate and capable of changing my orientation. Knowing the facts is not sufficient to change my orientation. Now I know the facts. I'm not the Anatma, I'm the Atma. But then to change the orientation to yes, I now fully understand that I'm not the Anatma body mind sense complex. I'm the consciousness Swarupam Atma. I have to mull over the facts which are taught by Vedanta in the initial phase, which is what Krishna is doing now. What is he doing right now? This is only an introductory chapter. Second chapter is like, a summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita before actual teaching starts. This is actual teaching only from the 11th verse of this chapter. But what is Krishna doing right now? He's presenting the facts to Arjuna. And what is the fact? That which is the very first teaching of Vedanta, that in the form of you are not the body, mind, sense, complex, anatma, but you are that Atma. So this is the basic first step of presentation of facts. And the entire Bhagavad Gita is helping one to understand these facts slowly, systematically, over a period of time. And by the end of Bhagavad Gita, end of 18th chapter, when Arjuna says, Nashto Mohaha, that means at that time, Arjuna is able to understand and assimilate properly the facts that have been presented. So right now, what we are studying between the 12th verse and the 25th verse of Bhagavad Gita, second chapter that we are studying, is Krishna is presenting the facts to Arjuna in the form of Arjuna, You are not the Sanatma, matter principle, body, mind, sense complex, but you are the awareness, consciousness, non-matter principle called as Atma. And I will present the facts of the differences between Atma and Anatma. And in the last few verses, up till the 19th verse that we saw from the 12th verse, what are the characteristics of Atma and Anatma which were given as facts by Krishna to Arjuna? He said, number one, Atma is Nityam. That is something which is eternal, which is all the time present. There's not a period of time, any time that the Atma was not there, will not be there in future. No, Atma is Nitya, whereas Anatma is Anitya. What undergoes changes is Anatma. What is changeless and that which observes all the changes in the Anatma is Atma. That is the first thing Krishna said. Then Krishna said, it is the very nature of Anatma to experience the polar opposite experiences when it transacts with the Jagat outside. And all the experiences that are experienced by the Anatma are Agamapai. They are what are called as Agamapai. That means they come and they go. They are temporary. They appear for some time and then they disappear. I hope you're able to listen. Okay, fine. So that is Anatma is Agamapai, whereas I, the Atma, is something which is permanent. And this is something which you have to understand. Second point Krishna brought about in the 16th verse, Nasato Vidyate Bhavaha, is Krishna said that you are the only reality. Satyam. Atma is Satyam and Anatma is Mithya. So the body, mind, sense complex is Mithya because it does not have an independent existence of its own, whereas Atma has an independent existence of its own. It does not depend on anything else, whereas Anatma depends on Atma for its existence. So, Anityam, Anatma, Nityam Atma, Agamapai, constantly changing Anatma, whereas Atma is that which is consistently remaining the same. Anatma has a dependent existence, the body, mind, sense complex, whereas the Atma has independent existence. And he said, Atma is Avinashi, that which cannot be destroyed. Indestructible is the Atma. Whereas the body, mind, sense complex is every moment it is getting destroyed. It is a destructible matter principle, which we saw in the 17th verse. In the 18th verse, Krishna said that these bodies have an end. A body, even a mind sense complex, right now will not go to the body mind and sense complex. Body is something which appears and disappears, that comes and goes. Antavanta ime dehaha, he said. These bodies are antavantas. Antavantas means they have a period of a time of, which finishes them, a time of expiry which we call as death. Whereas you, the Atma, okay, the Atma is imperishable. And in the next verse, 19th verse, which we did last time, Krishna said that, Arjuna, you may be surprised that as an Atma does not have any kind of a kartritvam, it does not have any doership, it does not have any enjoyership also. The Atma does not do anything, the Atma does not make somebody else do something, because no action is possible in Atma. Why no action is possible in Atma? It is because no change can happen in Atma, because Atma is Sarvagata. We saw that in the 17th verse itself. That is Sarvamidam Tatat. It is all pervading. There is no question of movement. Any action requires change. Any action requires movement. Whereas what is Atma? There is no movement in Atma. Atma cannot move because it is all pervading. There is no change possible because it is Avinashi, that which cannot change. Therefore, if anybody thinks that he is a doer, in this he said, Ya yenam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitaha nayam hanti na hanyate. If you think that you are the killer, And if the others, your Swajanas, Bhishma, Drona, etc., our people, they think that they're the killed, then both of you don't know. Why? Because you are all of us are Atma Swarupas, and there is no question of any action in Atma. A person who thinks that he is the killer and a person who thinks that I'm going to be killed, both of them are ignorant. Now, why Krishna is bringing that action of killing such a gross thing here? Because one thing is the context is that of a war, and Arjuna's shoka is only because he's sad or sorrowful that he's going to kill his own people. That is why the action of killing has been brought here. Another reason is, in any of the actions, we take any actions that anybody can do, killing would be, the meanest, the darkest, and the grossest action. So Krishna is taking the example of even the grossest action and says that Atma is neither the doer of the action of killing, nor is Atma the subject of or the object of action of killing, not even the object of it. So with this, we stopped last time. And now he goes to the next fact. That is the facts. That is the difference between Atma and Anatma. And I said in the 20th verse, I just introduced it last time. And this is in a totally different meter called as Anushtup Chandas. So let's read this verse number 20. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. So he says that now, what is it that is born? What is it that undergoes changes? And what is it that dies? Krishna says, and Vedanta says, it is the body which has a date of birth. It is the body which changes as per the time. And it is the body which ultimately one day dies. Therefore, it is said that Anatma, body, mind, sense complex, have got this feature of change or vikaritvam. In Vedanta, we call it Shad Bhava Vikaraha. Shad Bhava Vikara. So, what are these Shad Bhava Vikara? 6 types of Vikara, 6 types of change can be there in Anatma. What is this? First thing is Asti. It looks as if it is there, but then it has no independent existence of its own. Of course, we know that it depends upon Atma for its existence. So, Asti. Then it manifests in a manifest form, Jayate. The body was there in a existent form, unmanifest form in the womb of the mother Asti. It is born as an independent physical body at a particular time called as the time and date of birth in a place of birth, Jayate. Then this body goes on growing from an infant to that of a balaka, yuva, adulthood. Okay, so Asti, Jayate, Vardhate. Vardhate means it grows. Then at a point in time, the body undergoes change. Okay, Viparinamate. That is the fourth. Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, teenage. There is a change in the body of the boy and the girl, a metamorph or kind of a change, a metamorphosis or a change that takes place. Viparinamate. There is a parinama in the body after it has grown to a certain extent. Viparinamate. It remains like that plateau for some time. Then this body starts deteriorating. Apakshiyate, apakshaya, kshayate, starts deteriorating, degenerating. And one day what happens? Mriyate. The date of death has come and the body is gone, dead, either dead by itself or destroyed by something else. So asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, mriyate. These are the 6 changes called Shad Vikaras. These Shad Vikaras are only where matter is concerned. It's only the matter, not only the body. any matter you take, even you take matter like our earth or our solar system or our galaxies, whatever it is, there is something in a potentially existent form, manifests itself, grows, changes, metamorphoses, and then remains in a plateau for some time, comes down, and then it is destroyed. This is the natural history of all anatma. Whereas this atma does not have any vikaras, because it is that nirvikari atma which is aware of all the vikaras. We saw that dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. It is me, it is that atma, that consciousness, without undergoing any change, is aware of all the changes that the body, mind, sense complexes are undergoing. So he brings here the two changes: na jayate, na mriyate, kadachit. Kadachit means at any time, never ever, the Atma is born or is dead. So when you bring the first and the last vikara, jayate, mriyate, it automatically includes all the other shad vikaras. So Atma is neither born, na jayate, na mriyate, that is vinasharahitaha. So na jayate means it is nityam. Na mriyate means what? It is vinasharahitam, kadachit. Ever, never ever is it born or does it die. Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. It is not as if the Atma was not there before. It appeared now, and after some time it is not going to be there. No, it never happens. Atma is that consciousness which is present in all three periods of time. But what is it that comes, which was not there before, which appears for a period of time and then just disappears? It is the body, it is the anatma. So it's not as if nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. It's not that this Atma is going to change in the form of not existing, now existing, in future it will not exist. No, that will never happen. It is there in all the periods of time. Therefore, what is it called? Ajaha. Ajo Nitya Shashvataha Puranaha. What is the meaning of Aja? Not a sheep. Huh? All the Sanskrit people who know Ajaha means also it means goat. So here Ajaha does not mean a goat. Ajaha means that which is not born. So na jayate. Therefore Ajaha. Okay. Na mriyate. Vinasharahitaha. Therefore nityaha. Ajaha nityaha. Shashvataha. What is the meaning of Shashvata? It is present in the same way all the time. That means apakshaya rahitaha. Apakshaya means what? Jarjara, deha becomes jarjara. The body starts its decline. So that means Atma does not have a decline. So na jayate means ajaha, that which is not born. Na mriyate means what? Nityaha. Shashvataha means what? That which does not have the phase of declining or apakshayaha. Shashvatoyam Puranaha. What is the meaning of Puranaha? That which is ever fresh, that which does not have any vriddhi. Vriddhi rahitaha Puranaha. That which is always fresh, that which never loses its freshness. It is always the same. So, na jayate iti ajaha, na mriyate iti nityaha, eternal. Okay. Na apakshiyate iti shashvataha. Vriddhirahitaha iti puranaha. Then what is the body? The body, sense complex, anatma is exactly opposite, correct? It is born, therefore it is not eternal. It dies, therefore it is not nitya, isn't it? It is not shashvata, isn't it? I cannot recognize myself in my younger days picture. I was so different, now I'm looking so different. The body has changed. Every minute the body is changing. Every few minutes the cells are changing. And it is said that in a period of 7 years, 7 to 10 years, this entire body is never the same what it was born with. Everything has replaced. Everything, all the parts have been, cells have been replaced. So every 7-10 years you are a new person. But what kind of a new person? I am degenerating, deteriorating, and therefore I am not, body is not Shashvata. Puranaha vriddhi rahitaha. Okay, there is no vriddhi. All the time the body is growing, remaining for some time, a few years, and then coming down. So it can never be, ever Puranaha. Therefore, what is the meaning of this Atma? Atma is na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So Atma cannot be destroyed. Atma cannot be killed. And what is getting destroyed by its very vikaras is nothing but anatma. This particular verse talks about the nirvikara nature of Atma. So Atma is nirvikara. And because it is nirvikara, because there are no changes in it, and it is something which is ever present all the time, there is no question of Atma being an agent of any action. Therefore, in the previous verse, he said that Atma is neither the doer nor the object of anybody else's doing. Hanyate, na hanyate, Atma na hanyate. Then what is it that gets destroyed? Hanyamane sharire. The sharira is hanyamanaha. That is the sharira, the body is capable of getting destroyed and changes. But the Atma does not change. This is mere presentation of facts where I first have to understand Vedanta is trying to tell me that look, in this mixture of Atma and Anatma, try to understand by yourself who you are by knowing these facts about the Atma and Anatma. Then Krishna says, you are that Atma. You are not this changing Anatma. Unfortunately, you means what? All of us have been, literally entangled with the body as myself, as ourselves. And to change that orientation, I have to be with Vedanta for probably lives together, not even years, lives together. Therefore, in the next verse, 21st verse, Krishna says, Veda vinashinam nityam yayena majamavyayam katham sapurushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. So he says, Hey Arjuna, Veda means may you know. Here Veda does not mean the Vedas. Veda means, Hey Arjuna, may you know. Veda, Avinashinam Nityam Atmanam Veda. May you know this Atma to be Avinashi, indestructible, Nityam, ever present and eternal. Yayenam Ajam Avyayam. That which is not born, that which does not undergo any wasting, may you know this Atma. Now, what is the meaning of may you know? What I said in the introduction in today's class, know at what level? First, know the facts about this Atma, first level of knowing. Then, in the second level of knowing, try to understand, try to assimilate, digest, and let this knowledge of facts be real for you. This is the second stage of understanding, second stage of knowing. Knowing superficially, intellectually, first stage, knowing the facts. This is this, this is this, this is this, this is this. Then understand why and how those facts have to be applied to the body and to me, the Atma. See, this is what we do in any field of knowledge, isn't it? Initially, the Shastra, it may be physics Shastra, Sangeeta Shastra, mathematics Shastra, economic Shastra, whatever it is. Initially, it gives me the facts, but I have to go along with the facts and study, be with those facts, refer, and try to assimilate those facts. Once I have assimilated those facts, then I don't have to remember them. They become a part of my knowing. I know there is no need for me to again and again, go over it. But the first stage is where I have to again and again go over it. So here Veda means, hey Arjuna, may you try to understand this Atma at both these levels. May you know what is the fact. Secondly, may you learn, may you know how to internalize this fact. And this process of internalizing these facts, which are told by Vedanta, is called by the name Nididhyasana. And Krishna is going to take one full chapter, the 6th chapter, in telling us how to assimilate this Vedantic teaching, how to do Nididhyasana. So, hey Arjuna, if you know properly exactly what this Atma is and what this Anatma body and mind is, Sapurusha, such a person who knows this exactly, Hey Partha, hey Arjuna, Katham kam ghatayati hantikam. How can this particular person kill somebody or make somebody else do the killing? See, an action can be done in two ways. Direct action, where I am the doer of the action. Then there is an indirect action, where I make somebody else do that action. And in the war, both are happening. So here, Krishna is saying, the person who has really understood this very well, you know, the way I'm telling you, in both, at both these stages, of course, it will take time. But hey, Arjuna, a person who understands this, assimilates this, such a person, Katham sa Purushaha, how can such a person who has understood, hey Partha, Prithaputra, Partha, hey Arjuna, Kam Ghatayati, how can he kill, whom can he kill, Hantikam, how can he make somebody else do this kind of an action, Ghatayati, Hanti, Kam. How can he make somebody? He's neither doing an indirect action of abetting somebody else's action, nor is he doing the action. Therefore, hey Arjuna, don't think that you are going to be the killer and they are all going to be killed. All of us are Atma Swarupas. There is no killer, no killed here. It is a body, mind, sense complex of the anatma of an individual, because of its law of karma or whatever you call it, is getting destroyed in a certain way by another set of anatma. That is what it is. Now, why should the body get destroyed? What is the purpose in the body getting destroyed? It can be there forever, no? If Atma is there forever, eternal, why can't the body also be there eternally? If the body is there eternally, we can understand, we can, we can foresee what are the types of problems that we are going to have. So here, what is this meaning of the body dying? What is the meaning of the anatma getting destroyed or disappearing? So he says here in the next verse, वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. Now this verse has to be understood at two levels. Since here Krishna is talking about Atma and Anatma, the correct way of understanding this here is the Dehi or the Atma. Since the Atma does not change, the Atma is not born or dead. What is it that is born or dead is the body. So Krishna says here that it is like the Dehi, the Atma is changing its clothes. See, when the clothes, vasansi means clothes, jirnani vasansi yatha vihaya. Jirnani, jarjaritani vasansi. That means those which are torn. Say those clothes which are not wearable anymore, those which are torn, what do we do normally? Okay, vihaya. We throw them away, give them away. And what do we do? Navani grinhati. So what do I do for the sake of, transactions? When something is old, I remove it and then I take on something else. It may be a new set of clothes or it may be some other set of clothes which is already there. Therefore, Navani aparani. Navani aparani vasansi grinhati. Who? The Dehi. Okay. So why Navani means what? Whenever a set of my clothes is gone, I need not always wear new clothes. No, I may wear something else which I have, but don't wear the one which is torn. Aparani. Other clothes I will use. or I will buy myself for myself a new set of clothes, Navani or Aparani Grindhati. Who? The Dehi, I. Okay? Tatha Sharirani Vihaya Jirnani. When this body becomes incapable of doing any further transaction, Jarjarita Deha, that body which is completely disseminated and almost about to go. And when the purpose of this body is over from the point of view of my prarabdha karma, from the point of view of other people's prarabdha karma, you see, my prarabdha karma may be over, but somebody else's prarabdha karma may be there for them to look after this body. Paraprarabdha is there. Then even if my prarabdha is over, this body may be in a vegetative state alive till that somebody who takes care of me has finished his prarabdha. So now when this body, the jirna, the torn body, is no longer useful for itself or for anybody else, what happens? The body is cast off like a snake casts off, its skin. It is cast off. And what is the meaning of death? This casting off of the body, when it is no longer useful by the Dehi, is called as death. And later, this Dehi has to embody itself according to the law of karma into another body, which is called as the birth. Now, since Krishna is talking from the point of view of Atma here, we have to understand that it is the body which dies, the Atma continues. The body is like a set of clothes which is already of no use to the wearer, to the Shariri, and this Shariri, the Atma, has to, or the Shariri needs to be embodied in another body for the future working out of karma in the law of earth. We will come to that later. This is the context here. But then it can be taken as, it can be explained in another way where now I'll have to explain what is meant by death. And for this, again, we need to go back to Tattva Bodha as to what are the three shariras: Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. Tattva Bodha says that I am a combination of three shariras: Sharira Trayam, Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, and Atma. Okay. Now, what Vedanta says is, in Tattva Bodha, it is very clearly explained. That's why it's very good to have a good exposure to Tattva Bodha before we come to any other Vedantic text. Now, what Tattva Bodha says is, what dies is only the Sthula Sharira. The Atma doesn't die, we know. It never dies. Na jayate mriyate, we saw that. It is the body, the Sthula Sharira, which dies. Fine. What happens to the Sukshma Karana Sharira? Now, the Sukshma Karana Sharira, Sukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira, along with all the basket or the bundle of the previous karmas, which we call as the Jiva, travels. Okay, this is the second explanation for this verse. The Jiva, which is nothing but a combination of Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, with all the karmas, baggage of karma. This, what is called as the Jiva, leaves the physical body and travels. Atma does not travel. Sthula Sharira does not travel because it is dead. So what is death? Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Viyoga is called as death. And this Sukshma Sharira with Karana Sharira and with all its baggage of karma remains unmanifest for a period of time. What is that period of time? We don't know. It all depends on the law of karma. And at a particular time, this Sukshma Sharira, according to its karma, comes back in another body. It embodies itself in another body. And the old body of the Sthula, the Sukshma Karana Sharira, which we call as Jiva. So the old body of the Jiva is cast off because the Jiva is no longer able to do any transaction with the existent body. And then it remains for some time unmanifest, potential form, in the Karana Avastha, it comes back at a certain time in another body. The same Sukshma Sharira which has traveled comes back and embodies itself into a new physical body. So the Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira Samyoga is called as birth. The Sukshma Sharira, Sthula Sharira Viyoga is called as the death. This is one way of understanding. Okay. Therefore, the Jiva, the Sthula Sharira is, of course, when it is alive. But when the Sthula Sharira dies, the Sukshma Karana Sharira with all the karma phalas, what is called as the Jiva, travels. So the traveler Jiva, that is why I am in this body, but I, as the Jiva, this Jiva without a name and form, which is only a Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, Karma bundle, has traveled for lives and lives and lives and lives. It is the same Jiva, but with different bodies. How many bodies it has embodied earlier? How many it is going to embody later? Now, I don't know. But the only solution, only solace is, if I understand this knowledge and if I know I am this Atma, I am not this Anatma, this Atma Jnana frees me from coming back again and again into a body form, which is loosely called as moksha. We'll see that later. So these are the two explanations for this verse. But which of the explanations do we have to take here? We cannot take the Sukshma Sharira, Sthula Sharira, Viyoga, traveling and all that. That will come later. What is the law of karma? Why does a Jiva travel? What is it that makes him come back? How does a Jiva come back to another body? On, what is the path? What is the trajectory? What makes the Jiva to go where? And from there, how does it? All these are explained in Vedanta as to know what is birth and what is death of the body. But here, what Krishna is trying to say is the Atma is deathless and the body's death is like the changing of the clothes for this Dehi Atma. It is just Atma appearing in a new form called as this body, whereas earlier it was another body. So he says, Vasansi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya Navani Athava Aparani Grandhati Naraha. Naraha means what? The human being. Tatha, in the same way, Sharirani Vihaya. What does the Dehi do? Sharirani. Jarjaritani Sharirani Vihaya. Throwing it away. Anyani Sanyati Navani Dehi. New bodies are embodied by this Dehi or this Atma. Therefore, what is the meaning of this? Atma is deathless, continuous. What changes is only the body. Even the Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira is the same. Therefore, hey Arjuna, why are you crying over the bodies of these people who are going to die? And you think you are the killer. They think they are the killed. No, it is not that at all. The Atma and Anatma have these, contradicting features. May you choose the right one and have your orientation and identification with the right one, not with the wrong one. Now, in the next verse, Krishna wants to say, if Atma is not something which is going to be destroyed, avinashi, that which cannot be destroyed by anything. Now, how is it that a destruction can take place of anything? Why does anatma get destroyed? Why does atma not get destroyed? Now this is what Krishna wants to explain here in the next two verses, that is the 23rd and the 24th verse. Here in the 23rd he says, now again he comes back to Anushtup Chandas. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापः न शोषयति मारुतः. He says, look, destruction is possible by the elements. Correct? Elements can destroy, the 5 elements. We know earth can destroy, and earth is represented here by the weapons. The weapons or all the Shastrad and Astras represent the earth principle here, grossest principle. So, Yenam, Atmanam, Shastrani na chindanti. The Shastras or the earth principle cannot actually destroy this Atma. Nainam dahati pavakaha. Pavakaha or fire, yenam atmanam na dahati. It does not burn. Okay, I'll tell you why. Na cha yenam kledayanti apaha. Kledayanti waters, apaha, cannot destroy this atma, cannot drown this atma. Water cannot kill. Just imagine, see, I mean, body, what is happening now? Earthquake can happen and this body can die, right? Shastras and weapons can kill this body, so earth principle can kill. Fire can burn this body. Fire can be, the killer. Water, there can be, floods and one can get drowned and go away. Body is killed. Na shoshayati marutaha. Death can happen in the body by drying by wind. When when you're constantly exposed to the winds, very seeing, wind can dry out all the oils in the body. It can dry out all the moisture in the body and kill the body. Whereas neither the earth principle nor the fire principle nor the water principle or the air principle can kill or destroy this atma. It is avinashi. Why? Because atma is not matter. What can be destroyed by these elements? Only matter can be destroyed. Consciousness or spirit or consciousness cannot be destroyed. Correct? Take the example of space. So many things may be happening here. Things may be destroyed in all the anatma, all the bodies, everything can be destroyed in the space, but the space itself does not get destroyed. And what is space? Space is the subtlest matter. Space is still the matter principle. If space, which is the subtlest matter, cannot get destroyed by the other four elements, how can Atma, which is the subtlest of the subtle, the consciousness principle without an iota of matter in it, how can it get destroyed by the other elements? The same thing is told in the next verse, also in the 24th verse, for the sake of reiteration, for making it clear, but it is told in a passive voice. You see, here, Nainam Chindanti Shastrani. Okay? Whereas here he says, Achedyoyam adahyohyam akledyo shoshya evacha nitya sarvagatah sthanuhu achaloyam sanatanaha. So he says, in this verse he said, Naina na yenam atmanam shastrani chindanti. Here he says, Yaha Atma Achedyaha, that which cannot be destroyed. What is in the previous verse? No elements can destroy. The other four elements cannot destroy Atma. Here, Atma cannot be destroyed by any of these four elements. Achedyohyam. It cannot be destroyed by the earth principle. Adahyohyam. It cannot be burnt by the fire principle. Akledyoyam. That which cannot be drowned by the water principle, or the element of water. Ashoshya. That cannot be dried by the air principle or the wind principle. This is to reiterate. You see, when you say something in a active voice and you want to make it very, very clear and give a certainty to it, the same thing has to be explained in a passive voice immediately. That is the way Vedanta teaches. When it has to talk about something definite, it first gives those, facts in an active voice, kartari. Then it gives me in Karmani Prayoga also what was given in the 24th verse. If Atma cannot be destroyed, then what is this Atma? Nityaha, already it has been told, it is eternal, something indestructible. Sarvagataha, Subtlest of the subtle, therefore pervading everything, everywhere, all over it is present. Sthanuhu. Sthanuhu means that which does not move. Sthanu means that which is all the time there in the same way without moving. Sthanuhu. That is it. Stha dhatu. Stha. Tishtati. Stha. Tishtati. It is sthanuhu. Without movement, it just stands where it is. Therefore, it is sthanuhu. You know, in one of the names in Shiva Nama, Sahasranama is Sthanuhu. Sthanu means the one who does not move at all. Of course, Sthanu is used even for our local things which do not move, like a parvata, like a mountain is also called Sthanuhu. That means that which does not move at all. Therefore, it is Sthanuhu. It is established in one place. Therefore, it is what? Achalaha. What is the achalaha means what? Na chalaha iti achalaha. That which does not move. It is, where is the question of movement? When something is everywhere, when something is infinite, when something is the subtlest, where is the movement possible? Space. Does the space move? No. It's the subtlest of the matter, but does the space move? It does not move. Everything else moves in space, but the space does not move. Similarly, all the other elements, the entire manifest world, including the space, move in Atma. Therefore, Atma is what? Achalaha. Achaloyam. Ayam Atma Achalaha Sanatanaha. Sanatanaha means what? It is ever present. It is ever fresh. It is all the time there. That is why our culture, that's why our dharma is called as Sanatana Dharma. That dharma which is ever fresh in all periods of time. Ahimsa, okay, astheyam, satyavadanam, these were all not, dharmas at the time of Shankaracharya or at the time of, Krishna. No, even today they are relevant. Sanatana. That's why it's called as Sanatana Dharma. That which never changes, that which is applicable, that which is, referable, that which is relevant in all periods of time and exists in all periods of time. Therefore, Nityaha, that is all the time there, imperishable, Sarvagataha, all pervading, like space, subtler than space, Sthanuhu, that which remains there where it is, Achalaha, incapable of any movement, Ayam Atma, therefore Sanatanaha. No changes in Atma. Nothing can change the Atma. Atma is changeless consciousness principle, which is ever the same. And therefore, in the next verse, we'll just introduce the next verse. I think we have about 7 minutes more. Avyaktoyamachintyoyam avikaryoyamuchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi. Can you get the connection? 11th verse. Okay. Na shochitumarhasi. Hey Arjuna, you don't deserve to grieve over these people that you are going to destroy them. No. Their bodies are anyway going to get destroyed. Antavanta ime dehaha. And you and all these people are who? Avyaktoyam, achintyoyam. This Atma is not an object. We have seen that. Aprameya. This is a repetition of all the characteristics, the facts that have been given in all these verses. Avyaktoyam, that which is unmanifest, that which cannot be seen by any sense organs. Achintyoyam. This mind also cannot think of it because it's not an object of perception. It's not an object of thought. Therefore, avyaktoyam achintyoyam. Aprameya, we said in the previous verse, in the verses. Which verse did we say that? Aprameya. He said, aprameyasya, 18th verse. Anashino aprameyasya tasmadyudhyasva bharata. That imperishable, that which is never an object of perception, avyaktoyam achintyoyam, This Atma is what? Avikaryoyam uchyate, that which does not have any changes in it. Nothing can make it to undergo any changes. Tasmadeva, therefore alone, viditva yenam, understand this Atma as whatever I have told, and not only understand the facts, understand that you are this Atma. Bhishma is this Atma, Drona is this Atma, all these people who are here, who were there, all are Atma Swarupas. I am Atma Swarupa. All these body minds, including my own body, is only an experiential anatma mithya upadhi. Upadhi means what? Upadhi means the body mind sense complex or an attribute. It's only an attribute. But hey Arjuna, understand this. Knowing these facts, understand that these are not the characteristics or swarupa lakshanas of some entity called Atma. That Atma which I am talking about, Arjuna, is you, me, we, everybody. And that's what he said in the 21st verse, Veda Avinashinam Nityam. May you know it at both the levels, at the level of the facts, as to this Atma is this. And at the second level, this Atma is not something else other than me. I am this Atma. May you know that. And when you know this, tasmad yevam viditva, knowing this Atma in this way, as your own swarupam, na nushochitum arhasi. There is no need for you to have any kind of a sorrow that these people are going to be killed, and therefore tasmad yudhyasva bharata. That all we have to bring in here. With this 21st 25th verse, the Atma Swarupam, the highest point Krishna has talked about as to why you don't need to have any sorrow. Sorrow is not legitimate here. So he has talked from the highest angle. And from now on, Krishna will come down further to make these points be understood by Arjuna and also by us. So with this, we'll finish this and we'll go to the next lower level, which Krishna goes to teach Arjuna as to why he should fight. And this we have dealt with the basic, the first step teaching of Vedanta called as Atma Anatma Viveka. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्था शाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.